This week, Kathy and I are in Prince George, British Columbia at a marriage seminar, and we're meeting such interesting people. And today I want to introduce you to Debbie Still, because this whole event here, this marriage seminar, was her idea. And so we've gotten to know each other over the last year, and I wanted Debbie to tell you some of her testimony. And so, Debbie, first of all, we want to thank you for inviting us here for this conference. We're having a great time meeting such interesting people. But you gave your testimony earlier, and you were describing how you had come to grips with being a Christian, being depressed, and then accepting the treatment, and then getting to know us. So could you tell the viewers, because I'm sure you're not the only one who has struggled with the guilt and shame of being a Christian and having depression, and should you take medicines? Tell us, how did you sort that out?
Well, Grant, when I first, about a year ago, was at a desperate place. And so I'd heard about you from Huntley Street from back in the 90s. I'd seen you being interviewed then. And on that program, you were talking about Christians struggling with depression. And it was like the shame of feeling depressed kept me from talking about it. And it was like understanding that there's a physical part to that. So when I contacted you a year ago, and I got on the phone with you, and you were coaching me, and I remember you asked me a series of questions. And the questions were related to, can you shut your mind off? How long have you felt this way? And you diagnosed me with unipolar depression. And I remember crying when you told me that. And you said, why are you upset? Because I felt like such a failure. And then you just explained to me, do you wear reading glasses? And I said, yeah, I do. So you said, when you put your glasses on, do you feel like a failure? And I said, well, not at all. And there's no difference. He said, what's the difference between a physical problem of a vision problem or a chemical imbalance where the serotonin isn't balanced in the brain? So that was like getting permission, lifted the shame off, and that stigma of being a Christian. It's not my fault.
Totally. And so now, so you did some adjustments with your medicines, and then what was the result of that?
Actually, I wasn't on medicine at the time because I had been on medicine before, but gone off of it because I felt so ashamed.
Right.
So then I went to the doctor with a list of symptoms and went on medication then. And within a short period of time, the thoughts leveled off. It wasn't negative anymore. And then we got into some of the baggage things, so the personality things that came from prior wounding, and asking Jesus. We were teaching about helping to hear God's voice and recognize his voice, and then from that, just dealing with the lies. Like when I'd hear the truth, it set me free.
So then, so first off, you got your medicine sorted out.
Yes.
And so then, even before we started to deal with your baggage, what kind of improvement did you notice just by getting back on the medicines?
Oh yeah, just my wasn't depressed anymore. The thoughts weren't there, so I felt hope. I think hope was the biggest thing. I felt hopeless.
And you felt like your mind was clearer?
Oh, definitely,
Okay.
definitely. When I would read the Word, I couldn't stop it. I couldn't
the
focus
bad thoughts.
on it.
Yeah. And so then your mind was clear.
Clear.
So then after your mind was clear, then we could go on to the next step, which to address your baggage, because it's hard to address your baggage if your mind's cluttered with bad thoughts.
Absolutely.
And so then we started giving God permission to show you the wounds of the past, the lies that you believed. And then how did that feel? You'd already felt improved with the medicines. What was the difference when you were unloading your baggage?
Like night and day. There was things in my life that just started, I felt like I was coming alive. I felt things that I could never do, like even this marriage weekend. There's absolutely no way that I would have invited you and Kathy to this.
You're not a professional event planner.
No, I have no idea what I'm doing. No, I don't.
But when you unloaded your baggage, I think you would describe to me like a cloud came off of you, so you had already felt better with your medicines, but then you felt even better still as you unloaded the baggage from your past.
Yeah, the baggage actually really affected all my relationships with my family members, my husband, and just so many, and even with myself and God, big time. Really with God, and so getting rid of that baggage could help me to actually the truth. So Ken would say, my husband would say to me at times how he loved me or something, and I couldn't receive it. But after that, I could receive the truth.
So what message would you have to the viewer right now who's struggling with their mood, struggling with their baggage, feeling hopeless, feeling guilty, ashamed, and condemned that they're feeling that way? What message would you want to tell them today?
I would want to tell you there is hope. And first of all, don't feel ashamed. This is not something that's your fault. It's physical. There's a chemical thing, no different than a diabetic or no different than somebody that struggles with something else. And there's shame attached to it as a Christian, but that's a lie. And to give the courage, I just bless you with courage to go in. Take Dr. Grant has a symptom list,
checklist,
on his website. Take it, and if that's where you're at, go to your doctor. And my doctor, my personal doctor, says it's like night and day. Like, he just sees such a difference and recognizes I have an understanding of the chemical part of it, the physical part of it now. And then don't stop there.
Yeah.
Keep going for the gusto, go for the gusto. And I know for me, there's 3 parts, like you teach about the spiritual as well. And when I started to deal with the soul and unload the baggage, the spiritual part, I could recognize the lies, and I didn't have to battle like I did for so many years. So when the baggage starts to get unloaded, that goes away.
So the pills is the first step.
It is, Grant.
Then move on to unload your baggage, because God wants you to be free.
Absolutely.
And here's an example of someone who had the courage to do it, and she is a lot freer than she's ever been. But it's a continuous journey.
It is.
I mean, we're all in the journey of freedom.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Debbie, for sharing your testimony. We really want to encourage you to take the necessary steps. And if this is your first visit here, then we want to encourage you to subscribe to our weekly email newsletter. Get our self-assessment guide when you subscribe. Just fill out the form, and we'll talk to you again next week. But this week, raise your expectation of how God can set you free.